Will Nicholson, Tomlinson Sotheby's International Real Estate, Sandpoint, Idaho. Shanghai Jazz, Madison, New Jersey. McCoole's Red Lion Inn, Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Beautiful Peddler's Village, Lahaska, Pennsylvania. Norris McLaughlin, Allentown, Pennsylvania. New Spirit Old Soul, Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Hey everybody, welcome to Eric Mintel Investigates. Today's show, we've got my buddy Jim Krug on. He's from Altoona, Pennsylvania. Jim is the planetarium director at the Neil Armstrong Planetarium out in Altoona. He's also the director at the Mount Lion Observatory. Jim is also the Section 8 director at MUFON out in Western Pennsylvania as well. And I mean, this guy is just chock full of incredible thoughts, incredible ideas. I mean, his presentations at some of these conferences will blow you away. So stay tuned. Jim's coming on right now.
My name is Eric Mintel. By night, I'm a professional jazz musician, but by even later at night, I investigate the paranormal. I, along with my team at Bucks County Paranormal Investigations, travel the country investigating all things paranormal. This is Eric Mintel Investigates.
Jim Krug, how are you, man?
Hey everybody, thanks for having me, Eric. I was really looking forward to getting together to do one of these with you. I appreciate it.
I know, me too, man. I know we've been waiting for like a while to do this. I know, some things got in the way, but you know what? We're here today. We made it happen, man. We manifested this.
Thank you. And guests, welcome here to the Neil Armstrong Planetarium. I'm the planetarium director here in Altoona. I teach at the Altoona Area High School, and I have been doing this for about 19 years. And so what you see behind me is just a little part of our Space Race Museum. I also founded an observatory right outside of Altoona called the Mount Lion Observatory. So we do public and private sky shows and night sky programs throughout the year. And then I got to know Eric because I am a state section director for MUFON. And so I got to meet him at a conference. We hit it off and we've been buddies ever since.
Absolutely. And we just saw each other, and this will have come out already, but we were already there at the MUFON conference last weekend.
Yeah. Can you take a minute to tell everybody what you presented on? Because I thought you totally slayed it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. And you too. But I talked on the Beast of Bray Road, which was an incredible investigation we did in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. And as Jim, as you witnessed, I mean, the people were on the edge of their seats there. And it was
they absolutely were. The editing that you did to that video is really, really professional grade. So I'm sure if you're not getting interest yet from networks, I don't think that's far away. It was excellent.
Thank you, man. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, I had a lot of fun. And thank you. Thank God you were there to help me out too with the with the AV stuff, man. That was like, thank God I deferred to you.
But, the funny thing with the AV, like, not to toot my own horn, but we have now done AV from some pretty well-known people in the UFO field, like Stanton Friedman, Colonel Charles Halt from the Rendlesham incident, Bill Burns, Nick Pope, Nick Redfern. And the hilarious thing to me is you get all these really well-known guys from the History Channel, but when it comes to AV, most of them don't know anything. Like, they'll bring a thumb drive to me. They'll be like, here, I think it's on here somewhere. And then they're like, I nested all my videos, like they're right in PowerPoint. That should work, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I sort of
later.
So like by default over the years, I've sort of become the go-to AV guy for MUFON, Pennsylvania, but I take pride in it because when the AV works smoothly, it just looks more professional. Everybody enjoys it. So I didn't mind helping out at all. Yours was easy.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. And I'll tell you what, man, your presentations are mind blowing. I mean, the way you put these together, and we're going to talk about that today. It's absolutely amazing. And that sets you apart from a lot of the other presentations because you are one of these guys that walks your talk. You do the research, you're in the field researching. There's a lot of people that aren't doing that. I'm one of those guys that's out in the field. You're out in the field. So it really takes a boots on the ground approach to what we're doing and to try to get that, whatever that truth is out there. When you step on the beautiful grounds of New Spirit Old Soul, you get that familiar feeling. That feeling of being home. A husband and wife team bringing a unique architectural salvage to every home or business. The grounds can also be rented for that special occasion or a private event. Goods for the uncommon home. New spirit, old soul. So here's one of the questions I always ask my guests, when we come on here, is right out of the gate, like, what got you into the paranormal? What was the fire in the belly? What was the catalyst that said, I want to study this subject? And what was that process like for you?
I'm glad you asked that, because I haven't been asked that in a lot of years now, but I actually remember it really well. I was probably only about 5 or 6 years old, which is ironic because I literally don't remember hardly anything from my childhood. I have a terrible long-term memory. I think my earliest consistent memories are probably from like ages 10 or 11. So for me to remember this is pretty impressive. It was way back in probably about 1986 or so. And we weren't at the point where we even had a VCR yet, but our next door neighbor, Bob, did. And so it was a really big deal when we would go over to Bob's house because he had all these movies on VHS and we would get to watch movies there. So one day we went over, and before Bob started the movie, he just had like PBS on. And I was watching it, and there was a scientific panel where they were talking, and they were showing photographs of like the classic Adamski style UFO, basically like the saucer shape with like the antenna or the point in the middle. Mm-hmm. And I saw it, and I remember at age 6, like, oh, okay, it's just about silly aliens, But then I listened to guys and I was like, oh, wait a minute. They're not laughing about this. They're actually taking this seriously. Whoa, like they're asking if these things are really people from other planets. And I still remember having that have a very transformative effect on me. So I've been interested about it, honestly, my entire life.
That's awesome, man. I mean, and I think we were fortunate too that we grew up. I mean, you're a few years younger than me, but
not many.
I grew up in the era of like In Search Of, with Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
I mean, and Unsolved Mysteries, and those In Search Of programs were awesome because it was always like they were always doing segments on UFOs, Bigfoot. They even did things on Betty and Barney Hill and the Hill abduction. So things like that would always fascinate me. And thankfully that we grew up in that era and it's still, and I think even now too, like I said, even maybe 10 years ago, now people are more comfortable, telling about, talking about their own experiences and opening up about UFOs. And as a matter of fact, today, I mean, there was a U.S. Senate panel on the UAP.
How about that? First time in 60 years, right?
Exactly, right?
That's
so
incredible.
That was pretty wild. So, I mean, there you go. So where would you see that happen? Right. And I was going to say, like you mentioned the word comfort. I think it is so key to have different series that really become transformative in hindsight. Like you mentioned In Search Of, I remember being young and just hearing that theme music for Unsolved Mysteries kick in. And right away, you just kind of like, if your parents were watching it, you got goosebumps. And it was great because it would always cut to this scene. It would be foggy. Robert Stack would be in some type of trench coat, but he was a great narrator. And what was so important about that show is it really brought a lot of these mysteries into the mainstream, because it wasn't always just like unsolved mysteries like murders, true crime. They would take that extra step. They would talk about cryptids. They would talk about extraterrestrials. And so shows like that, In Search Of, even the X-Files, I think for a lot of people like us, it was really the first time it showed us like, hey, you're not a total weirdo thinking about this stuff. Like other people are thinking about it too. And even some scientists say this might actually be a thing. So I think when you look at where the surges of interest are, they either happen after major UFO events, or they happen after something pop culture comes out and makes it relevant again.
In the heart of beautiful Bucks County, you'll find Peddler's Village, a village of shopping and dining, a village of family fun, a village of elegance. Visit Peddler's Village today and make memories that last forever.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a UFO encounter?
Yes, actually, I would say I have had 2 of them that were fairly definitive. So do we have time for me to talk about one or two?
Absolutely, yeah. Tell us all about it.
Great. So just to show your listeners that I'm definitely skeptical and open-minded, I consider all sides. I had a couple times where it was something odd, but I'm pretty sure that I can explain it as a natural phenomenon. For example, one night I'm driving home from high school football practice and I see this bright light streak across the sky above me, and then it just kind of makes a flash and it's gone. Technically a UFO, but I think what it probably was a fireball, a really bright meteor. It got low enough in the atmosphere, the air started thickening up and just exploded. Okay. Now, one or two that I couldn't explain, and this first one's kind of fascinating where it happened. I don't know about your area, but in our part of the state, proms have afterglows. So afterglow for the students is really important. It's basically like a safe alternative to going out and like drinking illegally. So here in Altoona, we have a park that's called Lakemont Park. And we actually work with the park where they have it open from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And then the students get to ride all the rides. And as teachers, we have to chaperone it. So this one night, it's around 3 a.m. So it's getting close to closing time. I'm up by the gate of the park, waiting for my patrol partner to go to the bathroom and head out. And so I'm looking up into the sky, and Lakemont Park is right by a really big highway that runs through Altoona, Route 220. So there's tons of light pollution. There's lights on from the rides. You can only see the brightest stars. And I look up and I see these three lights coming over the highway in a triangle formation. So my buddy comes out of the bathroom and I was like, hey, Damien, come here, look at this thing. And so we're looking up at it, Eric, and right beside me, there's a group of police officers. And I thought about telling the officers because cops are considered very credible observers. And if they saw it too, I thought it could increase the validity of the sighting. But I thought, no, I'm not going to do that, because as soon as I do, I'm going to see the blinking wingtip lights. It's going to be an airplane. I'm going to be embarrassed.
Right.
But Damien and I watched it. It came to a halt and then it backed up on itself. And the key was the triangle didn't change orientation like this, like a blimp turning. The light stayed the same. It backed up. Then it made a 90-degree turn, went out over the Altoona Curve Stadium and disappeared. Wow. And the funny thing to me, it just goes to show how many UFOs could be there, and people totally miss them. There was probably 500 or 600 people in the park that night, but me and my buddy Damien were the only ones that were actually looking up into the sky. And it's funny, I ran that one by my dad, who's like an extreme skeptic. And he's like, well, James, he's like, I think the military has a stealth helicopter right now. And I'm thinking, Dad, why would they be flying a stealth helicopter over Lakemont Park at 3 a.m? So that remains
sound, right? No sound.
No, totally silent, totally silent. So, you know, whether it was the TR-3B that's rumored out there, it was definitely something highly unusual.
Wow.
Looking for a vacation home? Look no further. Will Nicholson of Tomlinson Sotheby's has just what you're looking for. World-class entertainment at Schweitzer Mountain or water sports at Lake Ponderay, Idaho has it all. Fresh powder skiing, live music, multiple restaurants, and downhill biking in the summer. And, if you're lucky enough, you might spot Bigfoot. He loves it here. Give Will a call today.
Wow. Well, you know, that's funny, because here's another thing, you know, on all the programs, you see paranormal caught on camera, and a lot of these people are getting what these orange orbs are in the sky, these orange orbs that'll just appear.
Right.
So we're going over this bridge from Pennsylvania, and it's Stockton, New Jersey. It's outside of New Hope, Pennsylvania, in Bucks County. Okay. Girlfriend and I are going over the bridge. As we're going over the bridge into New Jersey, and we're going over the Delaware River, where Washington crossed the Delaware, which we live right down the street from. We're going over the bridge, and I looked up and I'm like, what the heck is that? And all of a sudden, 5 orange orbs appear out of nowhere. And then they did a search. They appeared. They did a search pattern. It looked like over the river, and then one by one, they just disappeared like this. It was in a formation like that.
Wow.
The weirdest thing. So I'm fumbling with my camera trying to get a picture of it. Of course, the flash goes off. Can't do that. And then I got one picture. I'll send you the picture. Okay. But I got one picture, and you could see a red, because it was just getting ready to peter out, but it was very orange when we first saw it. It was kind of like, I thought initially they could have been Chinese lanterns.
Right. Yep.
Because there's a restaurant there, and I'm thinking, was there a wedding going on? Maybe they just, lifted off or whatever. But this was February, and it was freezing out, so there was no way that it was that. Right. So she said she got a better view of these things, and she said that they just it looked like they were looking for something, and then they petered out. But I made even a diagram of how close it was to the bridge.
Yeah.
They were only a couple of 100 feet above the bridge. So,
And then when you think about a city like that, you can totally rule out any aircrafts dropping like flares or chaff.
oh
or
yeah,
They wouldn't do it that close to a city.
and no sound whatsoever. Very strange, man. It was very
funny
strange.
thing about, I'm glad you mentioned orange orbs, because before we started filming, I was just thinking there's like, I don't know if you've noticed it, there is this subculture of UFO people that are like just into the orange orbs. It's all they want. And it's so funny to me because like, there's nobody out there that's like just into like triangular UFOs
Right.
or just the elliptical ones, but the orb people, and it's not like blue orbs, white orbs, it's just those orange ones. I don't know what it is about them, but somebody just totally loves that.
Well, John Keel wrote about the living lights, living lights, and this is John Keel. I'm sure our listeners will know. He was one of these guys that was actually he was one of the first guys on the scene with all the Mothman sightings. And so he wrote about a lot of different things, and I have some books of his on all myths and monsters and everything. So, there's phenomena out there that we have no clue about. That's what I said in the conference the other day. That's why, as paranormal researchers, it's fascinating. The subject is absolutely fascinating because there's just it goes so deep, and it's limitless to what's out there.
And also props to you for having the wherewithal to at least try to get your phone and snap some pictures, even though it didn't work out. One of the ideas I kind of toy with is I wonder why so many people have a sighting and then don't really think to grab their phone until afterwards, because it's even happened with me, even with my background. And sometimes I think to myself, it could be as simple as the skeptical part of your brain is automatically trying to explain it away.
Exactly.
Or the more sinister side. Now, this is more of a stretch, but sometimes I think, well, you know what? People tend to think that these advanced civilizations, if they are out there, are definitely capable of like a thought projection. And I think as a defensive mechanism, if there was something low to the ground, if they like remotely projected out the idea like, hey, all is well, nothing to see here, because so many people, as a UFO researcher, it's amazing to me when I interview people, I ask them why they didn't bother to like take a picture at the time. They're like, you know what? I just didn't really think about it. And then finally, after it left, it's like there was a spell over me. And only then did I really think to take a picture.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like you're kind of caught up in the moment. You're like seeing this amazing thing.
Yeah.
And thankfully, when we were in Wisconsin last year, like I showed you that the UFO going over the field, thank God Scott was already filming on the video. We were able to get that on video. But yeah, a lot of times, and even last night, I mean, I'm coming home from a gig last night. The moon was absolutely gorgeous. It was just huge. And I'm trying to take a picture of it. It was just preventing me from taking a picture of it. My flash went off, and then you try to take a picture with your phone, forget about it. It's just too diffused and it's too bright.
Judith A. Harris, attorney, partner, and chair of the Estate Trust and Tax Group of the law firm of Norris, McLaughlin, with offices in Allentown, PA, Bridgewater, New Jersey, and New York City. Norris McLaughlin is a full-service law firm handling matters ranging from estates, trust and tax business law, litigation, real estate, intellectual property, healthcare law, municipal law, and immigration law, just to name a few. Norris McLaughlin.
So what is on the next agenda for you? I mean, what's your schedule usually like? I mean, obviously you're teaching,
Right.
but are any books coming out? Are you writing any books, anything like that coming?
Oh, well, it's funny you say that because this week was supposed to be the first week since like November that I haven't had an event here. And part of what does me in is I do a 9-week adult evening course every year. And it used to just be in person, but since we went with COVID, I also started offering it virtually, and it's gone really well. This year, I probably had about 40 people in. I've had people attend from as far away as like Kentucky and California. So I've done that. And now that it's getting warmer out, even though school's ending and the planetarium isn't open during the summer, we do public events out at our observatory. And I have been working on a book for a number of years, but being a father of 4, I just haven't had time to actually finish it. But I'd say the crux of the book is it's all sides of space exploration. And I think I'm up to, Eric, about 13 different theories on what could have happened on the Apollo missions. And so basically, I run through the whole gamut from exactly as recorded by history to extreme conspiracy and everywhere in between. And the fascinating thing to me is there is some compelling evidence for every single one of those hypotheses. So someday I hope to really find out for sure what actually happened on the Apollo missions.
Shanghai Jazz has been a staple of gourmet cuisine and incredible live jazz for over 20 years. Owner Tom Donahoe has created an atmosphere where good food and good friends can gather for an unforgettable culinary and musical experience. And don't forget to check out the new Encore Lounge downstairs. Choose from a variety of drinks and wait for the show to begin. Shanghai Jazz, your destination for jazz.
It's amazing, man. I mean, that research is amazing. And some of the photos in your presentations are mind-blowing. I mean, it's incredible. So here's what I wanted to ask, and we could tell our people, we're going to have all your information down here. So where could people find you, and where could people find your presentations and your events?
Oh, that's a great question. So easiest way to look us up is on social media, on Facebook or on Instagram. It's just at Neil Armstrong Planetarium. Best way to look us up. The one thing I have to be careful about, Eric, unless you take the adult course, I don't put the presentations just out there. And like for some guys, they get kind of greedy. It's like a proprietary thing. Well, like I only do that in case you give me money. But just being a high school teacher, I just have to be a little bit careful. Like the offerings here are really, really popular. Students really like it. But for people outside, it's so easy to look at like one presentation or one thing that we talk about or we talk about in the adult course and to totally take it out of context. So just because of my actual real occupation as a public school teacher, I'm careful about just like putting all the presentations out there. But
that's smart.
Thanks, man. But we do a lot of different local speaking events. Prior to you and me doing MUFON Philly, I spoke at the Butler Paranormal Conference, which is the most well-run conference I've ever been at. There was over 300 people there, tons of vendors, very positive. So I'm definitely getting an increasing amount of speaking requests. So maybe coming to a city near you.
In the heart of Quakertown, you'll find McCoole's Red Lion Inn, a beautiful, historic restaurant where friends can gather and enjoy award-winning food and drink time and time again. And next door, step inside the beautiful McCool's Arts and Events Center and wait for the show to begin. McCool's Red Lion Inn.
And then you and I both are going to be crushing this very soon too.
Absolutely. I loved your idea of just kind of getting together and just being like a package deal to go present different places. Absolutely. I think people would really like it.
I think, we talked about the positivity of the whole thing too, and these are stories that are like, these are truthful stories. And, for what happened to us out in Wisconsin for the Beast of Bray Road, it's all right on video. Everybody could see what happened. And the story is compelling. And then the follow-up we had last month, the people, 140 people showed up for the town hall. Yeah, it was amazing. And I'm going through that footage right now. And some of the stories that people have are incredible. The eyewitness accounts, the way this thing walks, it has been a very, very interesting thing this time. And it's more so than the last time. That's been a recurring theme about how this thing is walking and how it's moving and the evidence that Lee's getting on tracks and everything like that. So It's just mind blowing, man. I mean,
I was blown away by the quality of footage that you guys were able to capture, because if you watch a lot of these shows on like Discovery Channel, Science Channel, you can tell pretty quickly in an episode whether they actually caught something legitimate or whether they didn't, but the network spent this whole travel budget. And so now they need to try to like flesh a show out of it. But I mean, the amount of footage, especially, I found it very compelling, that shot you got of those UFOs moving through the trees. Not only was it phenomenal, but there was nothing there in that field when you looked at the daytime shot that could remotely explain that in any way. So those of you watching or listening, if you haven't seen Eric's presentation yet, check it out. It's great.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. You know, and so we're going to put all of this information for people that they could find you and, you know, and follow your work. And I think you should definitely get the book going for sure.
I'm going to try my best.
I can't wait to see what else you got going on, man. And then getting on the speaker circuit with you is going to be awesome too.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. I'm serious.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to do that. So listen, Jim, thank you so much for being here, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm blown away how quickly a half hour went on us. So we'll have to do it again sometime.
Oh, we would definitely do this again for sure. Okay. And we'll definitely do an hour the next time. And because we've got a lot more to talk about, because we want to talk about UFOs on the moon. We want to talk about Legends of Atlantis. So this is just a little teaser for everybody.
Okay, so I'm totally in on that.
Next time. And we're not going to wait a year for this to happen. So
that sounds good, Eric.
Good deal, man. Well, listen, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, we've always got incredible guests on Eric Mintel Investigates. So thank you so much for joining us. Jim, thank you so much. And have a great night, everybody. And as Jim would say, peace.
Peace.